Gopala, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Dayal. Prananata, Anata Sake, Prananata, Anata Sake, Prananata, Anata Sake, Prananata, Anata Sake, Dini Dada, Naha. Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Dayal. Andakupu Mahabayana, Andakupu Mahabayana, Andakupu Mahabayana, Andakupu Mahabayana, Nanaki Pare Uttaha. Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Dayal. Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopala, Hey Dayal. Hey Dayal. Hey Dayal.
Good morning and welcome to Centers for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley. We are an open and diverse spiritual community based on the teachings and principles of science of mind. We embrace the global heart vision, a world that works for everyone. We recognize the common thread that runs through all spiritual traditions and paths, knowing that each and every person who's watching this service right now is on their own sacred path, and we are glad that it has led you here. We are glad that you are here. Today's musicians are Anton Meserich and Laura Berryhill. We're so grateful that they're here. We're grateful for our tech team, as well as Maggie Covarrubias, who is our practitioner for the day. Reverend Kimberly is on her way back from the CSL convention, and our speaker today, our Reverend, is Reverend Ruth, who will be sharing her amazing message with us. Once again, we are glad you are here.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth?
I'd like to start today's reading with a quote from Ernest Holmes from What We Believe. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We often ask questions and seek answers externally, but there's an infinite intelligence within that's always available to us. We can access it through the sacred inquiry of spirit. The spiritual practices of visioning and spiritual discernment bring us into close contact with the indwelling presence that allows for direct revelation. Both begin by centering in oneness and anchoring in love. In visioning, we ask expansive, open-ended questions in order to achieve a high idea. In spiritual discernment, we ask clarifying questions seeking divine guidance about something more specific. Spiritual discernment helps clarify the what. What is mine to do? What is mine to know? What is mine to be? We might not have the answer to these questions, but there's that within us that does know. There is that within us that does know, always, no matter what. Rather than trying to find a solution with our limited knowledge or resources, spiritual discernment allows spirit to provide an answer. Regular practice strengthens our ability to hear spirit. I can't stress that enough. To hear that still, small voice within that knows what it knows. Our minds are one with the one mind that only knows the highest and best for each and every one of us and for everything and everyone around us. So I'd like to ask the following question. Why wouldn't we turn to it for guidance? I invite you to do so. Thank you.
This is us. Do we get a signal? We are the crown of creation. Nature becoming conscious of herself, swimming in an ocean of sensation, discovering the vastness of our wealth. These times are times of great mystery. These times are times of great choice. As we answer the call of our own destiny, we must each speak our own truth with our own voice. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. And these times are times of great trials, but these times can be times of great hope. These times may be times of personal struggles, but these times can be times of limitless growth. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. Find it all in our hearts. Find it here in our heart.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anton and Laura. So gorgeous. Good morning. I am Reverend Ruth Kirby, and I am excited and delighted to be invited to speak today. 1 minute in, and I'm already sounding like Dr. Seuss. Good. Let me start that again. Good morning. And I am here so honored to be asked to speak this morning. And my talk this morning is the gift of challenging times. And if you were looking on Facebook or the website, you might have thought it was question everything, but it was at one point, and then I questioned it. So now it's something else. So the talk today is the gift of challenging times. Appropriate, right? Timely, yes. So often the topic in this teaching, in the science of mind, is about what we can do individually to improve our lives, to change our beliefs and change our lives in such a way that we actually reduce the amount of drama or crisis or challenges in our lives. And while that's a really important skill to have, absolutely, it isn't the only one in our spiritual development that we need to learn. Because as you might have noticed, not all challenges are within our control. Anybody noticed that lately? So an equally important skill in spiritual development is to see challenges in life differently and use them to our advantage as growth opportunities. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. So if we make our goal to never experience a challenging time or a challenge, we miss out whether we succeed or fail at that goal. If we succeed, besides needing to check on whether you're actually human or not, in never having a challenge, it also will probably result in being underdeveloped in some way. And if we fail to never experience a challenge, we may have wasted much of our time chasing after something that, besides kind of being impossible, is not really in our best interest to avoid all challenges, right? So today I want to instead suggest that we do our spiritual development work as not as a plan to never experience a challenge, but we do our work so that we're ready to thrive despite challenging situations and actually integrate them into our practice so much that we are benefiting from having them. So the two main parts of my talk today are two gifts that challenging times can bring to us, and then what helps us harvest those gifts. What things can we do to get the most out of those gifts? So the first gift that challenging times brings us is they strengthen our connection to God. Challenges force us into using our God muscle, right? When we are challenged, we are less likely to think that we can handle it all by ourselves, that we've got we can just do it ourselves, and we're much more likely to turn to a higher power, to reach deeper within, and tap into deeper resources, and to tap into our true power within to meet that challenge. Ernest Holmes says in his book, The Art of Life, "The power of the Spirit of God is within everyone, but it must be consciously drawn upon. It is not merely a new theory about God that we are looking for. It is the actual power of God that we must lay hold of." Our trouble is that we have not really believed that this presence exists and operates in human affairs. We have not realized the divine presence as a living and dynamic reality. What we need is the direct experience of a conscious contact with the divine. I love the way he says that we don't need a new theory, but it's the actual power that we must lay hold of. Wow, that's powerful. So in other words, we have within us amazing power that we aren't always tapping into, that we aren't always using, and challenges bring us to that. So I would not say that it's impossible to experience this power without challenges, but it does stand to reason that if a person feels like they're meeting all their needs in the world of form, that they may more easily lose sight of what else is there until they encounter some kind of challenge that their worldly possessions cannot solve. I had an experience recently I wanted to share. A tree fell over in Lithia Park recently. A huge tree, really big tree, just fell over in the park. And I overheard a tree specialist commenting that the cause was likely to be all of the scheduled watering that was going on for the grass all around it, so that there would be nice and green grass for all the park goers. But the roots of the tree did not need to go deep to get water, and its shallow roots put it at risk of falling over in a storm. In a more natural environment, there might be some winters where there was less rain than others, and this same tree would probably have sent deeper roots down because of that, and therefore strengthened itself and be less vulnerable to falling over in a storm. I thought that was a great example of this concept of challenges helping us grow stronger and making us go deeper. The second gift that I want to bring forward that challenges can give us is to save us from a boring, shallow, and unfulfilled existence by instigating personal growth. Andrew Harvey says in his book, The Way of Passion, "Rather than having a midlife crisis, if you are lucky, you will have a breakdown earlier than that. A big enough shakeup and a challenge that it will change you and keep you from living a mediocre life." Wow. I remember when I first read that. If you are lucky, you will have a breakdown earlier. That really hit me as quite an amazing concept, actually. So what does he mean by that? Well, I take it to mean that we can easily fritter away a decade or more of our lives chasing things that don't really make us happy or without any really depth to our awareness of ourselves. And that a deeply challenging life experience can jar us out of that state and force us to go deeper. Anybody relate to that recently? Wayne Muller, another minister and author, has his own comment about this gift of challenges in his book, How Then Shall We Live, Knowing We Shall Die? In his book, he describes his work with many people in hospice and people with fatal diagnoses, people who know they are going to die sometime soon. And he describes his experience, this experience that he has of almost envying them because they often use it as a divine permission slip to get rid of everything and everyone who is extra in their lives. All of the fluff living goes in an instant and is no longer tolerated. He explores whether we can do the same without the diagnosis, because truly we are all going to die. And I thought this was also fascinating perspective. And certainly one of the things that I remember so vividly in the beginning of this pandemic experience that we have been in now for almost 2 years, that in the very beginning, when we first got introduced to the term lockdown and all of that, one of the main directives that we were given was only do what is essential. And I thought, wow, what a directive for the entire planet to be given at the same time. This is big. And of course it spurred all kinds of discussions about what those things are, and what is essential, and who could work at home and who couldn't, and who this, that, and the other thing, and off it goes into all of the different ideas about it. But as a happening on this planet, to be pondering that directive was huge, I felt, and certainly got me thinking about that. And I think many, many people had that experience of kind of being stopped in their tracks and being asked that question: what is essential? If I'm only going to do what's essential, what is that? So those are the two main gifts that helps us strengthen our connection to God, and also instigates personal growth that keeps us from living a boring, shallow life. So what helps us? What can we do to help harvest all these gifts? And our biggest ally in this is perspective, of course, right? How we see it. So what I suggest to all of my clients and people that I mentor as a spiritual mentor is this: to see our challenges as free workshops. So, oftentimes we have paid good money to go to a workshop or a class to look at our forgiveness, or look at this and look at that. Well, here you got a free one. It's just landed on your doorstep, and you can see it that way and choose to be in this workshop. So, like, maybe I'm now in a workshop where I have to, I'm having challenges with trust. So my workshop is, how do I trust others in the situation where there's not very much trust? Or how do I deal with all the fears that are coming up how do I stay out of fear when all these people around me are in fear? And on and on and on. We get to name what that workshop would be. But it's a way of looking at a challenging situation and transforming it into a growth opportunity. I wanted to mention an experience I've had in my past that really brought forth this idea of how much a perspective can change an experience. And that is, years and years ago, I had the experience, and I would say the pleasure, of water fasting. And I did this at a center, so supervised and all of that. Don't do this at home kind of thing. But anyway, I did some water fasting. So 7 days, only water. And one of the things they talked about at the center was the difference between that and starving. So in starvation, say some other person is going through 7 days with only water, but not intentionally, like they're actually unable to get food. And so they don't want to have that experience. They're not happy about it. They're stressing out. They're having a completely different experience than the person who is doing an intentional water fast. And what's interesting is they're both having the actual same exact physical experience. For 7 days, they don't eat any food. They're just drinking water. But imagine how wildly different their experience is. Imagine the faster who is doing it intentionally, on purpose, for healing something that has been a part of their life. And for the experience of it, they're intentional about it. And sure, it's hard, I can swear to that. It's not an easy experience, but it's a completely night and day from someone who's doing it because they're not intentional about it and it's not what they want. So it's just one of those experiences I've had that really anchored in the difference in how we see it. Our perspective can transform the exact same challenge, the exact same thing that we're going through, by just seeing it differently. So perspective is our ally, and we use that, the fact that we may not have choice about the challenge, but we do have choice about our perspective. So we can say to ourselves, ooh, I see, I'm in a workshop of staying true to myself despite being pulled in all different directions. Or, gosh, I'm in a workshop about staying the course, even though I'm thinking about not doing that. Or, gosh, I'm in a divorce workshop. Or, gee, I'm in a being sick workshop. And, you know, just on and on and on. It's like, it can be whatever it is, but once we've named it as a workshop, as a growth opportunity, we can track our progress or lack thereof. No, we don't have to be perfect in it, and dedicate ourselves to this growth in new ways. And we can even find ourselves appreciating the opportunity to get in touch with what is deep inside us, because challenges do bring that up, don't they? So, because challenges can be like spiritual scrub brushes. I like to call them that, spiritual scrub brushes. So while we're going through it, it can be painful and uncomfortable. Ooh, you know, while it's happening. But afterwards, the resulting personal growth can catapult our lives into a whole new level of amazing. I know another experience of this kind of thing is sometimes when we've been really sick and then we come out of it. Remember completely coming out of after being sick? Sometimes it just feels like a cleansing has happened or something. You know, you can feel all shiny and new again. And it's kind of like that. So another awareness that helps us reap the benefits of challenges is to remember that all loss is actually transformation. So many challenges have aspects of them that involve loss. So no energy is ever lost. It only changes or transforms. And when we understand this law of physics and metaphysics, we won't stay facing the closed door forever. At some point we turn and look for what is in its place. What is present now that wasn't before the challenge? And what are the gifts that are left for us? Collectively, many of us in this teaching have been focusing on this idea ever since the pandemic arrived. With all that was taken away, what is in its place? Remember the reports of clear air and lack of pollution that happened early on? Remember the quiet streets and the stillness outside? And remember the restlessness that many felt being asked to stay home, while others thrived on it. So many things were present in place of what had gone away. What are some more examples of what is gained in our life challenges? Well, sometimes, say we lose a job, that's the workshop we're in. It's an opportunity to change careers or move. This is one that I know thousands of people went through just recently in our recent major global challenge. Maybe losing a relationship would then bring an opportunity for clarity about what do we really want to have in relationships? What was that relationship about for us? What do we want in the next one? It can bring a whole new level of clarity in its place. Getting sick, another workshop that could be about an opportunity to bring more attention to our body, to find out what really makes us well and feel good. And someone we love dying. This is a big one and a hard one. But there is still gifts in this challenge too. It can be an opportunity to have a whole new experience of them being just inside you, close though. An amazing, intimate experience of someone who you used to have to go see, but who is now in your heart, available at any moment. It also can give us the opportunity to discover who we are without them. And again, they aren't always obviously good or bad things, they're just what is there in its place. So it's endless and it's personal. No one else gets to define your workshop or your gifts. So we recognize that when we recognize that all loss is transformation, we become people who expect the gifts and the challenges. We look for it. We look at not just what is lost, but what is there now. What is in its place? And gain appreciation for that too. Another thing that helps us is seeing the challenge itself as our spiritual practice. Oftentimes, even people who have pretty well developed spiritual practices find it hard to focus during a challenge. Have you ever tried to meditate when you're sick and your nose is dripping all over the place? So this is an invitation to make our challenge our spiritual practice for the time being. And one memory I have really distinct about this is when I first gave birth and had a baby. And I was already a practitioner and was meditating and praying and doing all sorts of fabulous practices, right? And then I had a baby and I couldn't do any of it properly. Even if I had time for it, I wasn't in the space for it. And I finally just realized that this was my spiritual practice. This challenge before me, this showing up every day and being a mom and taking care of a newborn was my spiritual practice, and it was going to grow me and change me in ways that I couldn't even predict at the time. So I allowed myself to let go of, instead of trying to force myself to meditate and do all these things, I surrendered myself to the challenge and allowed it to be my spiritual practice. And these challenging times are very heightened opportunity for self-awareness. It's the stirring of the pot. All of your maybe otherwise hidden stuff is now being brought to the surface. So get out a notebook and start taking notes. Consider it your practice just to sit with all that is being dredged up out of our depths. Fears, negative self-image, anger, whatever's coming up. Create a space of unconditional love for ourselves while we experience the feelings. And let that be our practice for the time being. And finally, the very best way to get the most out of our challenges is to ask for help. This center is absolutely jam-packed with people who are trained to help people through their challenging times by shifting perspectives and seeing the spiritual truth in any situation. We are called ministers, practitioners, spiritual coaches. People like myself, Reverend Kimberly, Reverend Linda, Reverend Michelle, Laura, and all the wonderful practitioners here. We are all professionally trained to help people get the most out of challenging times. It's what we do. When we ask a spiritual coach to help us, they have the advantage of not being inside our situation and can not only see the challenging situation clearly, but are also able to see the magnificence that we are right in the middle of it. Their unique perspective and training will help us transform our challenge into an amazing growth opportunity that will change our life for the better. And who wouldn't want that? So just to recap, how challenging times help us. What are the two major gifts? Our challenges strengthen our connection to God. And they also save us from a boring, shallow, mediocre life by instigating personal growth. And how do we harvest the gifts of these challenges? Our biggest ally is perspective and the fact that we get to choose it. We can see our challenges as life workshops. Knowing that loss is transformation will help us. Look for what is present, not just what is lost. Use the challenge as our spiritual practice and ask for help. I don't mean to suggest that we should seek out life-shattering experiences or try to make them happen, but we can learn to make better use of them when they do. And I don't mean to suggest that we can learn to experience something traumatic as good right away or ever. We are human, and we must honor our feelings and be allowed to grieve and wail and experience our feelings when we're upset. But I do believe that when we look back at our most challenging times, we can recognize them as the times when we deepened, when we let go of things that didn't matter, and felt a deeper connection to ourselves and to God and to life itself. And we can learn to honor those experiences in our lives and the growth they inspire in us. May you have an amazing challenge. Namaste. Let's take that to prayer. So, if you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. And Anton, share some music with this. Let me just take a deep breath. And we close our outer eyes to open our inner eyes to the truth of our being. And this is what I know. I know that there is only one power, one presence, one divine intelligence that I call God. And that this is all that there is. One power, one mind, one thing happening here. God and only God. Knowing this, I know exactly who I am, that I am an expression of God, that I am an expression of divine intelligence. There is nothing else I could possibly be, for there is nothing else. And so I know that this is the truth for all that are within the sound of my voice, and truly all beings on this planet and beyond. That we are all expressions of divine intelligence, each unique in our own way. And so knowing this, I know that we already have been given the biggest gift we could ever be given, and that is the gift of life. And not just any life, an amazing life. A life that is always connected to all that is. We can never truly be alone, for we exist in relationship to all. That is who we are. And that we have all of the qualities of pure spirit within us and all around us, always, always, always. And that we are able to tap in to that deep root of truth. That we have all that we need already, and we can tap in and get through any challenge that comes before us. And so there is a peace in this knowing, in this awareness that we are not alone, and that we have this ability to tap in, to know our truth, to be guided, to be loved, and to thrive even in challenging times. So I just give thanks for this. I give thanks for this awareness. I give thanks for this truth. I give thanks for this center and all of those listening. I give thanks for just being alive today in this beautiful, beautiful planet, this beautiful life. And so with all this gratitude, I just simply relax and know that everything that I have said is the absolute truth already. And it's already unfolding in a most perfect way. And so I just allow it to be so. And so it is.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one. There is only one.
This is our time to share our gifts, our tithes, and our offerings. Knowing that from the love of pure spirit within me, within us, we bless these gifts. We send them forth to heal and bless and prosper. They are evidence of our faith and our belief. They do good work in the world, returning to us multiplied abundantly. Graciously, we give from a place of love, knowing that as we give, we so richly receive. So there are a number of ways that you can give to our center to help strengthen us, to help us do good work in the world, on the planet. You can donate on our website by clicking the donate button. You can use the Facebook donate button as well. And if you're so inclined, you can also mail a check to our P.O. Box, which is Box 1458, Medford, Oregon, 97501. And we have a couple of announcements before we close our service. But before that, I do want to thank everyone who's been involved today. Our technical staff, our musicians, everyone involved, but especially Reverend Ruth. So just to let you know, Reverend Michelle is going to be offering a 7-week class on the mind-body-spirit connection, Revealing Wholeness. And it starts on the 26th. There's still time to register online. And we are also going to be having our annual meeting next Sunday. We hope that everyone can attend. And once again, I want to thank Reverend Ruth, reminding us that life is always a workshop, that we always have something to learn, to expand on, to draw from, and that it is always spirit, it is always good, it is always for our highest good, and so it is.
loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. Mabud Leila, Ishq Allah Mabud Leila, Ishq Allah Mabud Leila, Ishq Allah Mabud Leila. Todo lo que pido de ti es que siempre me recuerdes amándote. Todo lo que pido de ti es que siempre me recuerdes amándote. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you. All I ask of you is forever to remember me as loving you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anton and Laura, once again. Well, for all of those of you out there listening online, whether you're live with us right now or listening to it later, I just wanted to ask you if you could type in what spiritual workshop you're in right now. What would you call it? I just thought that might be interesting for us to share in this format what life workshop you are in so we can support you in that. So now it's our time to say goodbye, and I just want us to, why don't we go ahead and close our eyes and just imagine that we're all holding hands. All of us who are listening to this right now, whether it's now or later, just imagine yourself in this big circle of amazing beings, holding hands, sending that energy around the circle, feet on the ground. And we just give a blessing to this moment. We give thanks for all that has come before. We give thanks for this way in which this beautiful service came together today, and all of the people working on it, the tech team, the musicians, the practitioners, the ministers, and all of the steps that have been taken prior to this moment right now that have led us to right now. And we just take this moment to honor that and to enjoy it, this moment that has been gifted to us so beautifully. And so with that, we just bless each other in this circle. Know that we will see each other on the path and expect joy and wonderfulness in the future. and be present right here and right now. And I just let it be so. And so it is. Thank you.